And we should be here. There we go. It's because the clean feed on the other computer crashed. So, hi everyone, welcome. The Spellwind strikes again, as it always does. Welcome to the Roundtable. Hi. Today we're going to be answering questions. Just because the show is over doesn't mean the questions are answered. So we're going to probably do that today. Go around and chat about our experience and answer some questions about characters and the show and the world. And we're just going to, decompress a week after and, do that stuff. Hi, everybody. Welcome. How's the music? Can you hear us? No one's talking because they want to make me just feel as awkward as possible.
You talking to us?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
We do.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct.
Correct. I love this. And you thought the shout-outs were bad. Here's about 2.5 hours of this. And it's going to be that for now 2 hours or so. But yeah, so we have some questions in the Discord, and I'm going to go ahead and start reading them. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to hosting this, so here I go. Oh, you want to take it over, Whack? Take it over. Take it on over, Whack.
This is your show, dude.
God damn it. I don't know what else. To do. Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing? How was your week post Spellwind?
All right, Myth, take a deep breath.
No, I'm not.
Double the Adderall. Start again.
That's actually a good call. I did forget that. Did everything else today. But hi. That's it. And I'm just feeding off of you all, and you're giving me great energy. Thanks everyone for your wonderful energy.
You haven't started the show yet, that's why. All right. Hi everybody, welcome to the Spellwind Roundtable with the cast and crew. We're going to be doing some questions. We're going to take questions from the chat, and people have been posting questions all week in the Discord for us to answer. And if you have questions about the setting or the lore, or like, what happened in the show, like, what happened after this thing, or you're confused about
what Myth's hair care routine is.
Didn't I say all these
Inquiring
things?
minds want to know.
No, you didn't say anything. You were just silent for 10 minutes. Can you imagine if you just went back and watched that and you were like just sat there silently?
Well, I will. Now I don't think I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna go home from here, and I'm gonna rewatch it and cry.
Did you
Unrelated.
Did you have an opening question that you liked?
Yes, actually. Actually, I did. There was the one I had to think about all week, which was how our session 0 went, and I've got to find it because I've got to remember what the question was, and also I don't think I remember. It was like so long ago, and like how did episode 1, the dynamic between the party as well as our session 0, and I'm trying to remember it specifically.
The actual question.
There it is. How did session 0 go, or what? This is from Johnny Katz. Or whatever counted as that. Curious about the character setup before the show started. Episode 1 of Spellwind is my favorite of all time. Thank you, Johnny Katz. Wondering which bits of the character backstory were established already. Obviously, some stuff brought these 4 characters together, quote unquote. How much was known up front, and how much came during the whole show? Does anybody have a better memory of session 0?
Yeah.
So
Maya.
we didn't have a session 0. We didn't play D&D up until like the first session that we streamed. Instead, we had like a small round table, maybe 2, where we kind of just like introduced each other, because I was brand new and had no idea what was going on. And I think Mythomatic
None
basically
of us knew you except for Myth.
Yeah, and Myth or Cord brought up the world of Hearth, and he had a small document about certain things like the deities and everything else. But I think it was quite early on that we decided that we wanted to have a 2-party dynamic that would meet up and be just because of the notion of that narrative. We hadn't made up the characters. We're just wouldn't it be cool if? And that was after Cord brought up Evervale and described it, and he described the God King. And so I think it was PB's idea. She said that wouldn't it be cool if a couple of us were actually with the God King, and then we would see what would go on. Mm-hmm.
We came with character ideas. Basically, we had a few character ideas between us, and then based on our character ideas, we started talking about the different party dynamics, and then we're like, who, based on some of these choices, what sounds good to you? And
so I don't know if you had a character idea prior to that, but I don't know if everybody did, because the character that I had was actually from so before Spellwind, Cord ran a D&D campaign on his channel, which was like a Dungeon of the Mad Mage thing, and then he was planning on doing another thing, and he was gonna call it, can I say the name of the show, because I don't think you're gonna, or I don't think that. Yeah. Go ahead. So we're planning on doing a thing called Potion Runners. And so that's why Jet's an alchemist, is because in that setting, potions and magic and stuff was supposed to be illegal. So I basically just brought Jet, who I had already made for Potion Runners.
Alchemical Bromance was the name of the
right. Yeah. and so I basically brought Jet from that and used backstory that I had written in to then basically tie it into the Entente. But before then, we hadn't decided who was going to be the Sworn and who was going to be in the Entente. It was kind of after our second, just get to know each other, meeting, that we decided that it was going to be Brad and I on one side and PB and Whack on the other. But yeah, it was kind of just very much just yes and pulling from the cloud. Oh, this will stick. And trusting each other, I guess. We didn't really, I don't know much about PB and Whack and them talking about how their characters knew each other and their history and stuff, but for Brad and I didn't know any of you guys from Adam, so I kind of stayed away, just did my own thing and came in blind in episode 1.
And you were the first,
with my fingers crossed.
Yeah, and you're the first person to say anything too. Imagine, I can't imagine being in your shoes and being terrified of and being nervous. I mean, if even whether or not you were, I would have been to play with a bunch of these people here on Table Story and then have the first words of the show, which you did, which was super cool. And I think I remember.
I'm just a sociopath.
You're like, well, I'm doing it. I'm jumping in. I remember Whack wanted to play an artificer. I knew that, and I think PB had this thought that she had to play a paladin. She's like, I owe it. I owe it to everybody. I told everyone I was going to play a paladin. I'm playing a paladin.
Actually, just promised Brad, fuck everybody else.
There you go. Promise Brad. And
then fuck me.
Yep. And then Brad made a rogue.
I had a different perspective though, because I was originally going to be running the production, and I run the Table Stories side of production for this show, which is just the VODs and titling and all that stuff, but the live production was you. But we weren't sure at the beginning, and then you were like, I've got this new thing called vMix that we now know we should never use. But because of that, me and you were talking a little more, because we were talking about the show as well as the character that I was going to be playing. And you were like, oh, there's going to be this thing, this place, there's going to be this tavern called the Worlder Tavern, and it burns down and all this. And we were talking, and we got Dave to make a song. And because of that, I had a little bit, that was my inspiration, because I knew what was going on with that tavern. And I was like, oh, cool, I get to be a revolutionary, La Resistance type.
Resistance, Solid Snake.
Resistance
Dodger.
Yeah. And I was watching Peaky Blinders.
That was it, yeah.
At the time, and I was like, I'm gonna make a character that is Thomas Shelby, Levi Ackerman, and the Snakes. And that was all I did. That was the entire inspiration for the character.
That's all you did.
And I was literally the character right there. Not that deep.
I think.
Plus some trauma and fire fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that like pre like game session 0, I guess like the one of the first talks, either like talk 1 or talk 2, because like we did have like a couple of weeks in between that before we actually had the first episode. I think when we decided that there was going to be sworn players, I was like, maybe I could be a sworn player, and I think I was like, and I'll sound like this, and then like I looked at like the what do we use again? Not clean feed, the vmix or whatever, and everybody's face to that was just stone cold. So I was like, or maybe I won't.
We're not.
And thank God.
True.
And
thank the God King.
Yeah,
In how many ways can Meyer play Crispin?
that would have been the first time. I hadn't made Crispin by then.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
First
Which
iteration.
means you would never have made Crispin on the other.
Yeah,
things.
exactly. You probably wouldn't have. As for Varsha, like I knew I was playing a paladin, and I do remember us splitting the party and going, we're gonna do 2 and 2 because that would be fun. For Varsha and Smith, no clue. We just improv'd the whole thing on like how well we knew each other, and there was one episode where he improv'd like knowing me prior, and then we met after. Or like that he knew Tenno or something like that. And then we met after the episode to kind of flesh that out. But yeah, everything was improv between the two of us, which was pretty cool.
We had a little bit. We had like a little bit.
Yeah, we like knew we knew each other for a while, but that was it.
I remember
The
that
cliff
being
notes.
that sounded scary to me, because it's scary when you go into a campaign and your character knows another character really, really well, but you obviously don't, because you've played them for 0 seconds so far.
It's always scary when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and I had Jet, who was this like new kid who was joining La Resistance, so it was easier to not have to worry about that. And I was like, oh, fuck that job on the other side.
Yeah, I mean,
deal with history.
Yeah, the entire thing that I was given, the lead up for Jet, was, okay, so you're going to be playing your character, Jet, whoever that is, and so you're going to be starting off in Galfish or whatever. However, Jet's going to be joining the Entente, and you'll find out more about what's happening on the day. That was it.
Right, yeah.
So, like, the surprise of, like, you're making the bomb, you're blowing up the bridge. That was all, I mean, like, that was the first time I was told any of that stuff. Was during the first session, so like yeah.
Sorry, I just remembered that I said to Cord, the only thing I knew about Varsha was that at some point I was like, it would be really cool if we break our oath if I lose all my paladin levels.
Yes,
because I think that would be super fun, and I've never done that before, and I would like to do that. So I told him I was interested in doing that. I did not expect it to happen as quickly as it did, however.
It did happen pretty early, but a lot of things happened. I mean, you did sort of break the oath, so
yep,
it made
absolutely.
sense. You were sworn no more. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was super nervous episode 1. I think because we broke for like the break. We broke for the break. We had the halfway point. Right before a combat, right before rolling initiatives, and I remember going, okay, how is this gonna work? Because I wanted to have like you all meet up, but I did not expect you to
fight each other.
a conflict or a combat immediately. So I had to quickly put stats for Captain Buttocks. And I was like, all right, well, and then I think I'm ready. Let's just do this and see what happens. But just, it was a really good exercise in just trusting the players and letting them figure it out, because there was nothing about that episode that was like, I didn't have a resolution. I was like, you are, the Sworn are here because there is a festival happening in Walden soon. And like the that teaser that was like, the festival in Walden, we may have to cancel the festival, there's a disease happening, which was one of the many hooks that happened in the world that was never grabbed onto, which is fine. It's just now there's a disease now that's there's a pandemic happening across the spine, but that we don't know about. But it was one of those things where they needed to have more guards down by Walden for this festival. So Smith and Varsha went, and then I was like, and they're going to come in via boat, and they may go down that drawbridge lift, and that's it. And you may be on patrol, and we'll see what happens. And that was, yeah. And then we had to just sort of figure it out. And there was a lot of trust in that first episode, and it was an awesome episode. So thank you everybody for all of your wonderful input and improv during that, because I was sick. I have more questions that I should find because I've already lost them. No, here we go. We have another one from Johnny Katz. How much of the character arcs were expected? How much of the character arcs were expected or plans versus dynamic improv on the fly? Feels like Spellwind characters experienced a lot of growth and change since episode 1, which I love to see happen. This is another one from Johnny Katz. How much of the character arcs were planned? Well, I think I'll let them answer.
0.
Yeah, 0. Aside from, I knew that at some point Varsha would lose all of her paladin levels and have to maybe swear a new oath to get paladin back. That was it. That was all I knew. And even then it wasn't planned. It was more like I asked Cord if it happens to come up in the game, I'm okay with it, basically, is what I said. If you want to take my paladin levels, I think that would be cool. And that's all I said. And the rest was improv.
And of course I was going to do it because it's a really cool way to show how terrifying it is when a paladin loses their levels. But that was pretty much it. Yeah, nothing really.
Yeah, because I went from level 5 to level 2, which is basically squishy the level.
Yeah, level 2 sorcerer. Yeah. In a level 5 world. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty gross. Terrifying. I know at one point you were thinking about you're like, maybe I can rewrite a subclass. For the Spellwind, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool, like Oath of the Spellwind.
Oh, I did do that.
Right, but we
so we wrote the Sworn, and then I wrote the Spellwind, thinking that like, oh, if she swears a new oath, maybe it'll be to the Spellwind, and then it changed towards the end. I was like, dude, she needs to be a Void Paladin, dude. It's perfect. So then we wrote the Void Paladin class. So all three of those are really fucking cool.
That was really it when it comes to nothing really planned, but like these events, really. A lot of this game, and this probably answers one of the other questions too, a lot of this game was sandbox. I pitched this to the players. I'm like, this is a sandbox game in this world. I will, like, you can go and play wherever you like. It could be more like, I guess, a theme park. You can play wherever you like, and then we could sculpt and build things along the way. And there may be things that I bring up, and you could say yes or no to them. There's really no reason to feel like you're obligated to take every quest hook. Episode 1, there was that entire disease side quest that was never explored. There was the cursed dagger that actually led you to Flaris, which is pretty cool. That cursed dagger that Ty picked up and then threw overboard. That had a whole
Myth
that was a whole bunch
about
of
that, by the way.
Well, it wasn't really. I think I was more meme pissed. There wasn't really much on there besides just information about another society or culture, which could have been really cool to explore.
I've been there when you write an entire thing down and the player just Last Jedi's it over their shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, throws it off into the water. Yeah, and but there was tons of little ones like that, which I am happy they came and went, because it definitely showed me the dungeon master.
You're being so outed about the dagger in chat by your brother. He talked about it for ages about that dagger.
Oh no!
He has no idea what he's talking about. I'm going with the microphone. He is a liar. What was I going to say? Oh, right. When the players do deny these side quests, it does help me sort of know where their focus is on whatever the main story is that we were going to, and we would like to still tell. So it's a good check-in narratively to be like, okay, is this still what we want to do? Okay, cool. Which was pretty sweet. This one is from Josh Meehan. Josh Meehan does a lot of the art, including the art here. Can I do this? Yeah, including the art here. This is a work from Josh Meehan, and also all of the other art that's been done, all the locations and concept art that we used in the Spellwind world is all from Josh, and it's amazing. So thank you, Josh. You're amazing. This one is up, and that's me, and I'm not here, and here I am. There I am. But this one's from Josh.
Really good all the way through, Josh. Very, very good job.
It was amazing. And thank you so much. But this is from Josh. Says, Cast, what is your favorite location to visit along the spine? And there's another epilogue. Which NPC factions would return to ever? Okay. Well, that's a little bit later. But which is your favorite locations that we had visited?
I might be biased to say that 9U's was up there, because 9U's is, I mean, at least the concept of it and the name was something that I came up with. I had the idea for 9U's when I was making a D&D campaign a long time ago. And so when Cord was like, hey, where does Jet come from? And would you like to write the lore for it? I was like, sure. I just used the name for that and its general principle, which was, it was the breadbasket. So it was really cool, not only just to go there, even though we're kind of going there as these oppressed people, but like also, again, the art from Josh, bringing that to life, the rolling hills, the big tree, the 9U's circling this main thing, and then Cord then going it further and like, making that tree not just like, this monument to the Empire and to these people, but also kind of like the central office of the elders of the village and everything else. It was a really cool time. Otherwise, honestly, I think the mines for me, the prison, Impel Down, which wasn't its name, but it's what it reminded me of.
Stormford.
Yeah, Stormford.
I was going to say Stormford as well. I just think it was fucking iconic for this show.
Yes. Hard agree.
It was so correct. I don't know, because that's what this was all about, the Spellcam Crusades. Right?
Yeah.
So you want to see what happens to these guys, when they don't just get like sucked up and thrown into the sworn, or like these two were. What happens? And the arc was just so interesting. Everyone was kind of on the it's kind of scary when you have your spells taken away from you when you're a spellcaster or whatever, right? So you had that element to it. It was like a scary dungeon. It was the way we had to break in and break out. It was just really well done. I think it was a really strong and poignant moment for the show. Loved it. The art was terrible though. Yeah, absolutely awful.
The worst. This is Stormford, the prison of where they kept all of it. I think it was an old dwarven fortress that was turned into a prison by the Evervale Crusades, and it's pretty much your Azkaban where they would keep people. But I think what I enjoyed about, I think I watched there was like Ratchet series on Netflix, I think it was. It was like a To Kill a Mockingbird. No, not To Kill a Mockingbird. Cuckoo's Nest. The other bird one. The other bird book we had to read in school. I watched a couple of episodes of that, I think, before this, and that inspired me to be like, oh, okay, what if Stormford was this correctional facility, and it had like these wards, and it had all of this sort of stuff. Instead of it being like it's a prison, they're trying to do that that edgy style of like fringe arcane to try to correct the wizards and sorcerers of the Spellkin of the Spine. But yeah, it was really cool to see, to go through it and to see what you all did with it, and to have Josh give us some sweet art for it. So that was dope. PB, do you have a place?
Yeah, I would also say Stormford. I mean, they were all really, really incredible, but I think Stormford was really interesting because Varsha got to see what would have happened to her had she not said no. Like, it's
yeah.
you're absolutely allowed to say no to join the Sworn, but what happens to you, if you don't, So I think that was definitely a turning point for a lot of us. So.
Hell yeah. Whack.
Tough call, man. I think one of the strongest things that you did throughout the entirety of the show was develop these settings. The settings, like all the different locations, are really good.
Thank you.
I am torn because, yes, Stormford was awesome. But if I look at it from the perspective of Smith, I'd say Blue Falls.
Yeah.
From my own perspective, I probably would agree with Stormford. But yeah, I think from Smith's perspective, it was probably Blue Falls, because that was a major turning point. And I could even argue before that Aftoki.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, Aftoki was really fucking good too.
Aftoki does, and what's really cool about Aftoki is that, like, it did pertain and what's the word? Resonate. Even towards the end and in the epilogue, which was really cool. Aftoki is that location in the marshlands towards the west of the spine, where the after a spell storm, the party ran into a bunch of Aftoki orcs and a bunch of fisher people, and they brought them, and anglers, and brought them back to stay for a time here in Aftoki, built on an old dwarven keep, now sunken into this and like probably fissured and cracked from the sundering, and now just this this community of orcs trying to survive in this old ruins. Yeah, that was a really cool arc for me, because I didn't know anything about Aftoki before we even went there. All I knew the name was Aftoki, so I needed to do a lot of fleshing out of what it was going to be. And I wanted to do like this Louisiana orc type. So like the music and stuff was acoustic and very blues inspired, and just giving you all like a reason to how are we going to gain their trust. And I think a cool way of doing that was to like what is the menace in the area.
Well, I also think it was really interesting because I think people have a tendency when you do orcs in a lot of these settings, they're always like malevolent, or like they're very like racist or brutal or what have you, and they were just very accepting and welcoming, and like they were just nice.
They're just bros who happen to be orcs.
Yeah, they were sharp contrasts to the shitholes.
Yeah.
From the area we were from.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and that's another a big sort of point was, I wanted to have that contrast of like it takes a spell storm and for you to be way out of the reaches of the Crusades to see the truth besides the propaganda that is probably being spread by the tyranny of the God King.
Well, that's also kind of why I wonder what the elves would have been like, because again, the elves more so than the orcs we were taught were, like not on good terms with the Empire, but also, very insular and very aggressive. So it would have been interesting to see if that was a complete lie too.
Elves are shag in every single setting.
Yep. Yeah. When I was doing the GM turns using the what was it? Something without number. The Worlds Without Number setting and system for the GM turn. There was a point where the elves had a corsair that went and taxed Aftoki, and Aftoki didn't have the money because they're trade caravan was already out. So there was like conflict happening in Aftoki while you were off in Flaris. So, which was pretty cool to just sort of have that living world. We never got to see the elves, but they did still have this degree of story interaction with.
We almost went there.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else I liked about the Aftoki arc was the disease itself. I always want to run disease, and when you're GMing and reading stuff, there's all these things that can cure certain diseases, but rarely do I bother. As soon as I go to introduce it, one of two things happens: you get disease, and then the cleric goes, "You're cured," or the paladin goes, "You're cured," and it ruins it, and it don't care anymore. Second is it's kind of hard to do. Kind of weirdly difficult to do disease because it's just so limiting, especially when you're doing a show. If you bog down the players too much with something like an actual debilitating disease, it kind of slows the wheels of just show. Momentum. And this was really interesting because you get to this place, you really felt that sense of small kind of rural, out of the way, singular group of people, but then we literally shaved one layer off and they were dying. they were like going extinct basically from this thing that they just couldn't deal with. So being able to win their trust over by going out seeking this kind of very D&D monster and defeating the monster and then coming back with the cure for this thing that allows them to continue being an established part of the world was really fun. It was a cool disease and a cool way to run a basilisk, and I like that as well.
You got the Crow Pro out of it.
And I got a Crow Pro out of it, which is one of the greatest named items of all time.
Yeah, the Crow Pro.
Never beat that ever.
It's too good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I should get back to the Discord for these other questions if I can find them.
Pasted a fuck ton of them in the Spellwind channel.
Oh hell yeah. Question 1: spoilers. This is from Melodious. Cord, do you have plans for what might happen if your players at that point are very much on opposing sides? Had died in the hands of the other player? Well, that's sort of what happened. Because Smith fell, hit 0 at that point.
Also, just to,
and it was
throw something out there, okay? We fucked up so bad on that fight because Heat Metal should have fucked up Ty so bad. Yeah. And we just forgot all the rules.
Yep.
Nice.
It's legit like a tie ender, that spell. And I was just like, I remember this spell being way better. Why does he have like 12 attacks? What the fuck is going on?
Let's just say the fight would not have ended in a tie, It would have ended tie. Yeah.
It would have been completely different. Like, I don't know what the fuck would have happened.
At the end of the day, it smells a little like emasculation. Wow. I don't know, man. I think Ty won fair and square, and he was all powerful, and that was the end of it. Really, you can't argue with it. So, that's how it goes.
Yep, the all powerful. You have to remember,
Ty.
Ty has a passive perception of 36. So.
I have a passive perception of 36, so I could tell that you were going to Heat Metal. So I don't even remember the fight. I actually completely forgot about it for like a good portion of the show, like in the early parts. That they even had an actual fight. I thought they just didn't like each other for a moment, and I remember it was really weird. I was like, why don't they like each other for like other than the sworn thing? Because I'm like friends with Varsha now, but what was the reason? I was like,
they had
an actual episode 1 PvP thing.
Chat, you got to understand, it's so weird being one of the people in the friends group that has a decent memory compared to so many of them that just can't remember yesterday. Like, straight up.
No. I'm good at remembering, like, I know my motivation for my character, but I don't know the reasons sometimes. I'm like, I hate that guy. I don't like him. Actually, that's me in real life as well. There are certain people that I fucking hate on this planet more than anything. And I don't know why. I don't remember the reason why.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just go, well, at some point you did something.
You must have. You must.
I got to that with Smith, and I remember when we just after Avtoki, when they kind of finally became friends, basically. Well, they weren't friends, but they begun to respect each other for the first time. I remember it was around then that I had to remember they had an actual fight in episode 1, because it's just so rare to have PvP, because it's just so annoying to do. But that was actually another really well done element in Spellwind, because normally PvP happening, I avoid it like the plague as a GM most of the time. If I can sense some PvP coming up, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered, let me try and figure out. I'm like, oh no, dragon's attacking, now you got a common enemy, fight that. So yeah, that was well done too.
Hell yeah, thank you. I just got all of the questions in a text document from Josh. Thank you, Josh, for saving my life. Okay, so where were we? We were okay, and we've got one from Gary Gamer. It says, what were the beings Varsha and Ty talked to, and what would have happened if Varsha had accepted their help?
Yeah, I want to know this too.
So, those beings were known as big world spoilers. Big world spoilers here. Cosmic spoilers is those beings were known as the planar paragons. There are gods in this world, godin for masculine, goddess for feminine, and then gods as the umbrella. And gods are pretty much avatars and sponsored heroes and idols of these planar paragons. Planar paragons are always in a chaotic war with one another, and they created Hearth and the material plane as a peace treaty to stop the chaos. But they're these planar paragons, these sentient bits of matter, are always fighting. That's just their how they are. They're just oil and water. They're always going to, but they can put on a facade. They are intelligent, but their instinct is always to fight and destroy and go at war with one another. This is there's something called the Opus, which is what created everything in Hearth, and it's pretty much my cosmic fantasy version of the Big Bang. And the planar paragons are everything in that opus before the explosion of the Big Bang. The miasma of color and energy that is eviscerating one another, those are the planar paragons. Peace was established among them when the material realm was created. Like I said, they're instinctually always at war with one another, so they start to try and find those who can go to war for them, and they can maybe bestow them some boons and power, and their mortal avatars and creatures will then call these avatars gods, goddins, and goddesses. So there's gods, and then there's one step above that. It's kind of like there's space, and then there's the cosmos beyond that. This is like the cosmos to what we know. Like there's all of that unknown that we know of our human real life, what we know of space, and everything beyond that we just aren't sure of, but we have waves of. That's the planar paragons. So there's there's us, gods, and then there's something else, and that something else was the planar paragons. They reach out, of course, to those who are proving a potential, proving to be a potential for an avatar. And everything that the players were doing, and also Varsha, was starting to gain the attention of these planar paragons. So that's what that was. Sorry to get super into the cosmic lore of the.
Literally why we're here. Yep.
All right.
Someone asked you.
So what would have happened if we had accepted?
And I answered. If you had accepted, it's a great question. I don't know. That would be something that I would have to say yes and figure it out later. But off the top of my head, if you did accept, I think Varsha would gain more powers.
Just big Varge all the time.
Big Varge, large Varge all the time. I think people would start idolizing the team and Varsha more.
Ew.
Which could be
that would have
cool,
been great.
But also
Phoebe would have been
terrifying.
so uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that was probably what would have happened. On top of my head, that's just what would probably happen. Would be people would start recognizing her as some sort of divinity. Yeah, which would have been so weird.
Literally everyone would just be Murgles.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, yep, that's right. Okay, and then we have one from April Rain as well. It says, Roundtable for Chord. Since you already wanted to create a game for your GMing friends to finally be in a game together, how did you go about setting up the game for them? Did you try to put out a little of each of their playing style in your world, or was it created as a sandbox for them to just explore it? And so I sort of answered this already. Much appreciate. Side notes, thank you for bringing Meyer into the Table Story family. I hope Meyer gets initiated into being a Table Story GM one day, and we all do. And I think it's fair to say we all immediately loved his narrations and descriptions. Yeah, we agree. We can't wait for Meyer to whenever that is to GM us in something. Meyer, make it happen. The question though was it was a sandbox, and there was a lot of the game and the story that I had an entire, I think, idea for what was going to happen as a story, like a main quest, and I don't know why I thought otherwise, because I think I thought that the Spine would always sort of have this overbearing tyrant and tyranny, and I never thought of what it would be like. Right. Well, no, thank you. And I never thought of what it would be like without it. So as we started to explore, and of course, like as soon as you, in any one of these sort of games, as soon as you show, even if it's episode 1, the all evil tyranny and the awful genocidal notions of a crusade, then you're going to get the players to want to go, well, let's destroy that. What are we doing? And that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, and I'm happy it did, because it was really cool how it was done, and it was super cool to play the story the way it came out. And I think whatever I had as an idea first pales in comparison to what we had done. As far as how their play styles go and everything and how to cater, I didn't really cater anything. The only thing that I catered was when we started the show. I think we started in like September of 2020, and I think I approached them the April prior, and Whack was like, I'm super busy all summer. And I was like, okay, what about after this summer? And then Whack was like, okay, sure, that's just a long time from now. And I was like, yeah, we'll wait, that's fine. And then everybody was like, yeah, sure. That was the only thing we tailored. Everything else, and like everything else was the players playing and ad-libbing and riffing off of one another. The only thing we had to like sort of cater and adjust to was scheduling, and that was it. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say about that, but I don't think that was it. Never mind, that was a question for me. Get fucked. All right, so this one is from Abradini. Says, did you know from the beginning Varsha and Ty would end up together? Was it a last-minute thing or something that happened organically over the show? Also, the twins of a boy and a girl, little Ty and Varsha, something you've been fighting to save all game, was a great touch. This is for Brad and PB.
It wasn't planned.
Nope. There was a moment somewhere in the middle where we were gonna RP that out behind the scenes. And we were like, yeah, okay. And then I think at one point, so when Ty confessed like publicly. That surprised me because I didn't think that was going to happen. But awesome. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
I feel like I needed it. I also think Ty had that moment when he was shooting the arrows, and then
and you shot her.
Oh yeah,
she didn't get out of the way. Yeah.
That was when Ty knew.
He was playing Cupid for himself.
Really? All the way back then? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's when Ty was in love. And then
wow.
He doesn't really even know what that is, so it took him a long time to figure out what was going on. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, just improvised, and it made sense. They kind of were two sides of the same coin, you know, really.
I love that. I didn't know that. That is so...
So then when I messaged you, you were like, tee-hee-hee, because Ty already has feelings. But you didn't say anything then. You little shit.
It was just Ty's romantic way of... He thought that was the most romantic thing ever, was shooting her
fucking
and her not moving.
And also, PB, you should be getting something in the mail tomorrow.
What?
It's his underpants.
It's an arrow.
It's a bomb. It's a bomb.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Give her the bomb.
The most romantic thing you can send to someone.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
A bomb.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got another one from Gary Gamer says, Roundtable for whack. Lore-wise, Smiths was bound to his armor, but mechanical. Did that mean his armor AC was stuck at the same level through the campaign? Or would moving to a better armor type flavored as Smith upgrading his armor?
So it's kind of a weird question to answer, really. I don't like. I didn't have any sort of mechanical advancement thing planned for Smith after a certain point. You get certain bonuses as an armor artificer, which is what he was initially, and that was based off of joining the Sworn and being a member of the Sworn and everything focused around that. So he kind of just went with the flow about being an armorer, but I never really had any plans to like upgrade the armor. I don't think he wanted to upgrade the armor, especially after when we sort of role played out what was going on with enchantments and stuff. And I feel like he would never really have too much of a desire to like to change the armor too much. As cool as the artificer is as a class and the armor artificer is, I limited what I did with Smith as an armorer, which is weird to say because it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife class, but I didn't really have any long-term plans with it at all. And then after what happened in Blue Falls, that was and Aftoki, that was a turning point for Smith. So I tried to just almost completely stay away from using the armor, really. Once we were committed to going to Flaris, I just imagined Smith changing his focus and seeing what happened with Selray and her techniques and all that. I was like, okay, I think his mind is best geared to be a wizard. He's very logical, he's very intelligent, and he became an alchemist or an artificer because that's kind of the role he was thrust into.
Yeah. And still using that brain and that mind to problem solve, but in a more
tactical and yeah.
Way. Yep.
So it just I didn't really focus on the armor after that point. So that was the big turning point. I just stopped and I was like, I'm gonna try and stop using a lot of the armor stuff, which is very, very much like a, makes a character kind of worthless, I guess. But I mean, it didn't feel right anymore.
Can't have a worthless character unless you're only playing the board game, the combat board game of D&D. Then I guess you're having a worthless character.
Which a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And at that point, are they a character? So I've got one from Murgles. Did you have a goal for something to explore with your characters when you made them? And in what way did they come to fruition and or surprise you with how different it was?
No.
Nothing to explore.
Wow.
No for Meyer.
I did. I did when I made Smith. So when you do flaws for character, that's usually one of my favorite parts of creating a character. I like to think about their flaws. I think that's what helps create them, and potentially helps with backstory. It helps with everything, really, because everybody's got flaws. We all have at least a vague inkling of all of our flaws, and it helps determine who you are as a person. So when I was making the character, I had a hard time making a character for this. Sort of this sandbox experience can be overwhelming, a lot of times when you have sort of a restricted list of stuff to work from, it's a lot easier to get started. When you have this wide open experience,
it could be anything.
It can be extremely overwhelming. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'd like to try something I haven't tried before. And, they just released Tasha's, and they had the Artificer. So I wanted to do that. And I was like, well, what do we kind of need in the group? And we were all kind of still deciding. And I was like, well, we got a little bit of everything already. I said, I'll play I can do like utility, I guess, and tank at the same time. So I took all that into consideration, and then when I came up with the flaws, I was looking at what they had, and they had I can't remember if I got this from Tasha's or the core rulebook, or if I came up with it, but Smith had PTSD from all the people that he killed.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially.
This goes into another question we have too, so that works. Yeah, you're answering one about mechanically what's going on with Smith's armor.
So he had very bad PTSD, and I was like, how do I wanted to explore that throughout the campaign. That was my goal. That was the main arc. I wanted to have this journey of sort of this emotionless soldier that was just racking up this PTSD that's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then recognizing it, understanding that he's damaged. Can he fix himself? And then I started to say anything can be fixed. That was another thing that I wrote early on, was anything can be fixed. So I had the goal of can he fix himself, or can the group fix him as time goes on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was really awesome to see having the character just sort of from episode 1, we've watched Smith like not necessarily struggle, but really put a lot of trust in, like probably the most trust he's ever put into anyone else. I feel like there was a lot of controlling and a lot of control that Smith has always been in. But from episode 1, is what I just did. From episode 1, I think when Varsha convinces him, like, we need to break away from here, and he's like, all right, I'm with you. That was
insane.
Yeah, an amazing an amazing switch that was flipped, and it could have been because he was defeated in battle, and it could have been just this. It also could have been a reaction of like a fight or fright sort of, or fight or flight, and at this point it was like let's just fly. I'm not going to fight. I can't fight anymore. Let's just move. And then did he spend a lot of the rest of this adventure and story regretting that move, and then during that regret morphed into this was the right decision. And it was just so well done because you could see it throughout the portrayal of Smith, which was just super a cool thing to watch. So thank you.
So
for that.
I forgot the question.
The question was the one you said no to.
Yes.
The one was there any arcs? Was there anything that you wanted to explore as your character when you first started? Where was that? Did you have
Okay.
do you have any plans for what happened? No, that wasn't it. Yeah, it was. Did you have any expectations for your character that you wanted to explore when you started?
So I had zero expectations for Jet and arcs and stuff. When it comes to roleplay and story building and stuff within TTRPG, I never have anything past the next session in mind. And when it comes to me, it's always reactive. However, when I was making Jet, he's a character that's based around fear. Fear is the primary concept of Jet. That's why when he casts his spells, he hyperventilates, and all his spells are based on breath work. And the more calm he gets throughout the story, the more calm he gets throughout the story, the steadier his breathing work is. He incorporates it into, like, you know, bringing Varsha and Ty and Smith into you know, like his magic, and he gets them to breathe and stuff like that. And aside from Jet eventually, you know, like, you know, not necessarily conquering his fear, but mastering it, that's basically it. In my mind, I mean, like in the story block for Jet, or at least like the kind of the weird drawing board, he's basically just what if Static Shock was a Yellow Lantern, but in medieval times, and potions.
Somewhere in the university, Johnny Blams is a professor that teaches you how to breathe while you're casting your spells.
That's right. That's right.
And we know what the vocal component is for his evocation spells.
Varsha, was there anything, or Varsha, PB, was there anything for you, for Varsha?
I wanted to just comment on, I'd like to know the actual answer to this from Whack, but I have a theory as to why he went with Varsha in the beginning, like that first episode. And it wasn't because he was defeated in battle, but because he really wanted that to be true. Like, he was willing to, you know, like if he hated himself and everything in his entire situation, and then you've got somebody who's like, hey, I actually believe that we can change that, and there is a path of redemption for you. It's just like he did a trust fall where he was like, I hope so, because I need it.
Complicated question to answer, I think. So when it happened, Smith was definitely feeling lost. And what I had imagined in my head was that he was probably on the verge of turning Varsha in as some kind of kind of an associate of Tenno, and extremely conflicted because he always saw Varsha like a daughter.
Yeah.
Yep. And everything that he knew, everything that he was taught said, you need to turn her in. And he knew that he didn't feel right inside, as emotionless as he was. So he had to make a choice. And it was like, if I do this, this person that kind of the only person that that he trusted would be gone. And I think without overanalyzing his reasoning too much, it was more of an impulse.
Yeah, okay.
And it was just like
gut reaction.
Yeah, it was just kind of a gut reaction more than anything.
I did really enjoy their subtle dynamic of like from episode 1 where Varsha was always looking to Smith for what do we do now? What you know, and then the end of the campaign where she's like, I can do this, let's do that, or you know, and she kind of had her own voice there at the end, so that was very cool.
Padawan training.
Yeah, that's kind of
And then stepping out of it, yeah.
I also have forgotten the other question you asked me because I was trying to hold on to that thought. I didn't lose
Is there
it.
anything that you wanted to explore when you made the character? I think we sort of already answered that.
Oh, yeah. I answered that already.
Yeah. Yeah, go back and watch it. Anything for you, Ty? Brad?
I don't remember well enough right at the beginning what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to play someone who was
I think you just wanted to kill the God King. I think that was probably what it was. You're just like, I want to kill this one.
Yeah, I think I wanted to play someone who was like
action versus the last campaign where you were stuck not being able to be action. You were all mind.
I wanted
and
to
this time you
be
wanted
someone
no mind.
that was very violent and very borderline villain, almost. I think when I first went into this, or someone who you might look at and assume is villainous almost. But I don't think I had anything. Well, Wild RP, and I ended up doing a spin-off of Ty that was a villain.
Yep.
I used Ty as the structure for him because by then I'd been playing Ty long enough that I knew who he was. But yeah, I think that was really it in terms of just like those initial kind of ideas for him. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was a very strong sense of like something that I wanted to do, really. I'm not that type. I don't try and plan too much anymore when I'm making characters. I like them to make sense up to that point. I like them to feel like they were born, they lived a whole life, and that they're justified in who they are. But once the game starts, I hate the feeling of like having a lot of plans for a character and then you get into a game which is essentially RNG, the game.
Yep.
Dice rolls, your other players are affecting everything. The GM is, the one sailing the ship. And so then you end up, you never get to do what you want to do with your character. And I find it extremely restrictive. And I always find it frustrating when there is a player that does that, which is maybe a shitty thing to say about other players, but I say it with, just kind of an air of experience when you have one player that's like, this is my story, and it's like, it's not though. It never is.
I immediately want to have them start rolling death saves when that starts happening. I was like, oh yeah.
It's like you have control.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, you have control over everything before that session 1, right? And then session 1, it's yeah. So I think that's interesting.
And the thing is, it's frustrating as well when you are in the position where you're like, well, I kind of want to do something cool, and you roll a natural one. Yeah. Or you kind of want to have this kind of story arc, and it just doesn't work out that way. And I do have, there is an element of me that does enjoy, like, I am that kind of player somewhere in here in me, but I've learned not to do it. Because it's always a letdown. So I rarely go into games anymore with kind of a plan or a hope for what will happen with them. I just kind of know what I wanted to do. And I was playing a fighter rogue as well, so it was always just going to be like attack
and sometimes a rogue fighter.
I was playing a rogue fighter, then I played a fighter, then I played a fighter rogue, which was a whole other thing behind the scenes, which by the way was extremely fun, and I'm glad that Cord allowed, because some GMs would be like, I can't be fucked, I don't
already balanced everything here,
this is so annoying to have to keep going back and forth between these things. But it's fun to have a GM that lets you because the way that I justified it to Cord, I was like, he's changing his entire fighting style. He's learned how to fight. Like Ty's whole thing is that he learned how to fight from all of these toxic masculinity options. Like Ty is just an upbringing of toxic masculinity after toxic masculinity and sort of like dogmatic resistance, rebellion, terrorism almost. And that's kind of all he's known. And in there, he never was himself. And so he picks and chooses how he fights based on these different people that taught him how to fight. And to me, that's the character sheet. That's the class you are.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a boxing match or you can have an MMA match. You know, you're not going to go into an MMA match and just be punching. You bring all of your different skill sets. So when Ty decided not to use his swords and blades and stuff, it made sense to me that his entire fighting style would change, and it would be really fun to blend that meta and have him be a fighter now and not a rogue fighter. And then he went back, so it was like, well, he kind of would fight with that roguish style again, and yeah, it's fun because it really helped me to role play that a lot, you know, kind of. That was just a random spin-off of the conversation that no one needed to hear or care about.
I love it when you do that. It makes me feel like
I didn't
you also have ADHD, and I don't.
I know. Sometimes I don't know, but I don't think I had a thing. I just knew kind of what I wanted. I actually wrote down a thing on my character sheet that I read quite a few times to get myself into character before we began. And one element of it is literally just a thing that I think I copied from like a website about Attack on Titan, and it says Ty's obedience is strictly limited to individuals he respects, and he has no problem showing open disdain for authority from anyone outside of this circle. Although he rarely shows it, Tyther has a strong sense of morality and empathy. And I think that is just a copy paste of something on like the Levi Ackerman wiki from Attack on Titan. But I was like, that's perfect. And I'll just go into this campaign with that. And see where that leads me.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having something like that to give you that.
That's what I did. Yeah, that springboard.
Yeah, springboard. Yeah. I have a good question here from Gary. Gamer says, actually, there's a couple of really cool ones here. It says, Roundtable for Cord, why did the God King have Creighton killed? What was it a punishment for information about the God King's affliction being leaked to the public? Or leaked to the party? And the answer that I have is I don't think it was. I don't think it was because of the leaking to the party. I don't think there was any way Creighton would know that the party knows. But I think there was a sense of the way that the scene went down.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
What do you mean you think? You're the one that did it.
Well, I thank you. So because there's a lot of things that what did I say? I think it wasn't. No, because there are a lot of because when people ask questions and stuff about D&D, I'm like, okay, is that an option? Would that be a possibility? Because I don't like to go yes and no all the time. I like to, if someone brings up something that could be, I like to think about, does that fit here? Is that because I feel like a lot of this world crafting is there's so much of this world and this like creation space that can involve a lot of input. So when people ask questions, I go, okay, is that actually what happened? Because I am usually about 60 to 80% sure I know what I'm doing when I'm doing a scene. When it comes to the what has happened and the cut and dry response of how something works, it's not final until it's been measured in the game or in the narrative. A lot of that scene wasn't really discovered. It was more of an observation for the audience and for that's really it for the audience. Going into that scene, what I wanted to have portrayed through that monologue or that speech from Creighton to the darkness of this room, and then the like the automated sworn that come in and whisk Creighton off to his beheading. Spoilers. I think that was because Creighton showed the God King when Creighton's mood changed in that speech to Lord, we need to, oh Lord, we need to talk about your affliction and things like that. It was a signal to the God King Rolthane that his loyalty is wavering. So it was not necessarily a planned thing that I think the God King did. I think it was a spur of the moment thing that Rolthane had him rush off. He's like, I'll find another honor guard or captain of the guard to take care of this, and who is more loyal than this questioning loyalty of Creighton. So that is my answer there for that and why that was done. Just another of the gross maneuvers of Rolthane. I also had another one, which was a really cool one about Horus. The character Horus, and I don't...
It's in the channel.
It's in the chat. That's where it was. Then that's where I saw it. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. How much of Horus was pre-planned character? I'm still blown away by Horus and Varsha's Horus and Varsha's discussion that may or may not be what was implied. I'm sure most of the conversation was improv, but he was just was he always expected to show up somewhere? So Horus, the character, if anybody's like, well, who's this? The NPC that Varsha had a discussion with, I think in the mead hall of the Dunkert mines.
Smith's dad, right?
I put out there that it was Smith's dad in the narrative, but we never explored to know if that was a yes or no, a confirmed thing. But that my intention was to imply that it was Smith's dad. But whether or not, we don't know yet. But the way I framed that was for it to be, Smith's father. A person who lost contact with his son years ago, a boy who liked to create things and all of this. And Horus was, in his own way, sworn to this crusade and helping. Horus and Dunkert were exploiting these crystals of Geoloon, and were using these crystals to repeatedly kill and then resurrect Horus. So Horus's magic and life energy, in essence, would infuse into these items. So the Sworn would have mass-produced magical items, like Varsha's blade, Evendir, may or may not have been named an elven name by Smith's father, who died in an exploitation of this magic to then mass produce like these factory weapons of magical weapons at this really unethical way. So that was just that scene wasn't planned. I think I did have the plan about the crystal and everything, but Horus being tied so closely to the party wasn't planned, I think, and I think until that scene, until we were discussing. I just wanted to have a cool way to sort of illustrate how magic and magic weapons can work, and dying in this system isn't necessarily the end for your character, because your things can live on, much like Vanayar, the blade that Ty picked up later, was a product of that. So
where did you get that blade from?
Vanayar? It was
I found it in the
display in Flaris.
In the where?
In Flaris Academy.
In the academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It came with a
display case.
A whole
Wait, I'm sorry.
story.
You lifted that from the display case and then threw it in the ocean?
No, different.
No,
one.
that was a different one.
Okay, just making sure.
The thing I threw in the
Holy
ocean
shit,
was
man.
the little ruby
You got
dagger
that off
we
of
got
the
off
woman.
that.
Yeah.
The dagger from the demon lady in the prison.
Vanillon was
Yeah.
the sword I was using for the last few episodes. That
Yeah,
was
okay.
like,
Yeah, you.
I didn't realize you had stolen that.
And
yeah. What do you think?
yeah, what else
I don't think anything Ty was wearing. You know,
was ever
anything he
made
owned,
for him.
it was all
yeah.
stolen. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Vanny Yara and the crystals and how magic works. Also, I wanted to just quickly go back and say, because you were talking about Ty, how the identity of, or Brad, the identity of Ty and how he was brought up, and like so much of his, like he doesn't know who he is. We never get to see a lot of Ty because he's been so reserved. And I think at the epilogue, when you were cutting onions and just how excited you were about cutting onions and cooking, was that was like the a glimpse at what's behind the veil that we've seen in front of Ty this whole time, what's under the flat cap, which has been super cool.
That is my dog licking water, by the way, if you're wondering what that weird noise is in the background. It always catches me by surprise. It is, I'm leaking. I'm crying because I was cutting onions. Two things. One, the 10, that's you. 10 years that pass, I feel like Ty would have the thing that he wanted. He said to Varsha at the end, like, none of this was our story.
Yeah.
Because this was someone else's. This was Lorcan's story. Lorcan wanted me to do this. The God King made you and made you do and set you on this path. You've never done anything for yourself. I've never done anything for myself. And so 10 years later, we see them, and Ty is softened. He's become who he wants to be. He's still got all these skills, but he likes applying them in the way he wants to apply them, like cutting an onion.
Sneak attack onions.
Yeah. I just thought that was a good way to represent that. Secondly, as well, one of the things that I really liked about the sword that you gave me was it showed a lot of growth in Ty, because at the beginning he hated wizards. He didn't like the magic. He hates the Spellwind. I don't think he would ever really embrace the Spellwind fully necessarily, but I think the fact that the sword
outside. Yeah.
Right, but the sword being from like a battle wizard,
the sword
is
dancer.
and being a magical sword, you know, is Ty embracing that he can change, you know, and that he doesn't have to completely reject everything to do with, you know, magic and the Spellwind and stuff. So that was quite cool as well. I think that it was just he took that sword, I guess. It was a good representation, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I read into it too much, but I thought it was cool.
I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I thought it was. I wasn't thinking about that, and I thank you so much for bringing it up, because that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That is. It was a cool blade, and it was cool to see Ty accept magicness, the spellkin, for a moment. What I have one from Now, and Neomeister says Meester, I don't know how to pronounce that. Neom Meester. Anyway, says for Cord, what is the most unexpected way for the story or world evolved thanks to things that the players did? Well, deleting the God King from the realm was one. And what is the most unexpected? That's pretty much the biggest one, really. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I was worried about how it was going to go down. I didn't want to have just a regular old boss fight where it's like, okay, we're going to go to the throne room and destroy the king, and because that's just seems to be done before. It felt like, but as soon as Whack unprompted brought up in character this scene about using void magic and exploiting some sort of ley line in the Spellwind to potentially utilize old and like reverse engineer Flaris's magic to delete, lack of a better term, delete the castle with the God King in it. You bet. I was like, this sounds awesome. I don't know what this means yet, but let's do that. As far as unexpected, I didn't know what the end was going to be until that scene, and I was like, okay, that means we're on our track to act the third act or the final act of the show in the series. So but the entire time me going, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know if I want them to go right to the, like, that just seems too simple and too easy and too cliche almost. So of course I jumped onto that really awesome suggestion from Whack. So thank you for that, Whack. Anybody else? Anybody have any unexpected things that happened to their characters or in the story that sort of not necessarily threw you off, but unexpected change or evolution your character made during the show?
Oh yeah, my character lost his hands.
Oh, yeah.
Unexpected. Cord was the GM.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Meyer goes away on vacation and then comes back with the handless character.
I got a DM. Hey, would you be okay if like Jet didn't have his hands? Okay, sure.
Yeah, I was reading a book. I don't remember what the book is, but it was on I was listening to a book, and it said, because I don't read, I have ADD. I listened to a book, and there was one of the punishments for like this ancient wizard was their hands were severed. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's dark. Oh, what does this look like if this happens to someone? And then Meyer had to go away, and then I was like, okay. And then we had the capture, and then I was like, oh, okay, wait, this is the time. Maybe we'll see what happens here. So yeah, that's sort of how that culminated and happened. It also, the fact that Meyer played a character on Wild RP, and my character and his went out to check out a meteorite and then use explosive to try to excavate the meteor and blow his hand off had completely nothing to do with my subconscious reasoning to try to take Meyer's hands from him.
Yep.
But yeah, that makes sense. That would be the unexpected thing. But that was my reasoning. If you're all like, why is Cord weird about trying to destroy Meyer's hands? That's what it was. Was there any other interesting, unexpected things that happened to your characters? Anyone?
Not stuff that we didn't already cover. Yeah.
I can tell you an unexpected thing that happened to me during this.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like I'm going to make a joke about my divorce.
Yeah.
Is it the joke?
My wife left. No, the day I showed up and Cord went, oh, you've fallen asleep, Ty. And I went, okay. And he went, you wake up and you're Lorcan. What do you do? And I was like, well, I am. What?
Right.
That was crazy. I was like, I don't even know am I Ty in Lorcan's body?
Right.
Am I Lorcan? And Myth was like, what do you do, man?
I don't know.
I just went, okay, cool. And I just fucking went with it. Can't say I haven't been getting Cord back on
That's true.
Star Wars with the same kind of things where I'm like, hey, what do you think's happening? And he's like, I don't know, the Force.
And he goes,
but yeah, that was really interesting and really fun to just kind of.
it was your character. Like, you made Lorcan, so I was like, you know what? Who is going to be better at playing Lorcan than the person who made Lorcan? So
it was
The lore master, if you will.
Yeah. So
lore.
I was gonna do it. Yeah, I was gonna do it myself. But yeah, then I was like, you know what? I think I would rather just see how Brad sees Lorcan and what that, because it'll help me understand what Ty sees from Lorcan. So it was cool. It was really cool, and thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know either, and then I had an idea, and what my idea was enough to influence how I played Ty, but not enough to influence how I would play Lorcan. So I was suddenly like, okay, who is this guy? You know, like what is his deal here?
Whack and Meyer knew. that they were going to be playing these other characters, but I did not tell you.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was very interesting, and it is it's a good
I just want to hold on.
Objection.
You say
Wackenmeyer knew.
Wackenmeyer knew, but it wasn't. It was like an hour before or something.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was one of those days where I was like, I don't have any
really
play.
know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was. You knew long enough of which wig to put on, and that was it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. It was long enough for them to go. I think I'll wear this. But other than that, it was pretty on the fly. But yeah, is there any? I think there was one more cool question.
Fuck everybody else.
Fuck everyone else. Well, just because of timing. Just because of timing. Fuck everyone else. I think there was one or two from the chat that I missed.
Have there been like questions live in chat as well?
There's been a couple. There was that I see, but I'm not very good at looking and reading the chat as per usual. There is one that keeps coming up that's about like, what's your favorite? Is there a place that I've seen multiple times? Here's another question for Cord. What's a really cool area of the spine that the players never got to experience or explore? And that's hard for me. I think I have some places. There's one that comes out to me, but I don't remember what it's called, which makes me seem like a shitto. Where does it? It is anyway, the place is north of
This cat.
not mine.
PB.
North of Evervale. And
Oh God.
that cat is so happy to be fed or something. Where is...
By the way, if you have questions for people or Cord or whatever after this, or we don't answer your question, then just seek people out on their streams.
That's right.
And
Come to my
Twitters and
channel.
Seek them out.
Yeah, but you have
Seek
to subscribe.
them out. Go find their
Subscribe to me,
house.
and then in the
knock
message.
on their door.
That's
Find them.
That's right.
Find their car.
All of
Sit
them.
on the top of their car until they get in the car, and ask them the questions then.
There
This is the way.
is a... This is the way. That's echoing for some reason. There is... I don't know where it is. I've got a whole bunch of different locations, but a lot of them usually have like one or two lines. There is a place on the spine. It's actually a little south of the spine that is called Lisk, and it's built in the shadow of a mountain towards the deserts, the south of the spine. So where it gets hotter because the sun is always in the south. There's a shadow of a mountain.
Like Mortis.
What was that?
Everybody talks like
Lisp.
Mortis.
Yeah, it's Lisp. It's called Lisp. It's called lateral Lisp, and the Lisk, Lisk, and it is it's built in the shadow and like a little bit of a crater in the shadow of a mountain. So it's sort of always dark there and cold. So there's a little bit more vegetation that can grow there, and there's a little bit of like bioluminescent, probably a forest or something that is there as well. But just outside of Lisk is where the sun is. So you have these people who are constantly going and exploring out into the sun-beaten deserts and the sands, and then retreating into this permanent shadow of behind this mountain. And that is there's a lot of cool things about Lisk that I have unexplored or not written. Now I've got a cat who's beating at the door. But that is distracting.
It's the
is what that
same
is.
cat.
It's the same
yeah.
cat.
He's run all over here. And so that was Lisk. There was another one, Crowmore, which is next to Evervale, and that is a large spire, but Crowmore is also the catacombs where the sworn are buried. So you had Dead Grove, which was pretty much the private plots of all of this land that this miser would sell to just the population, acres and acres of land that someone, I assume, probably bought for a gold piece or something a long time ago, but it's been in the family and is just sells plots of grave sites, and that's where a lot of people are buried, usually around the spine. But Crowmore, across the river and from Walden, near Walden, but you could see it from Walden. Crowmore is this spire, and under that spire is the catacombs, the active catacombs of where the sworn are buried. So if Smith and probably Creighton would be buried there, if he was even granted the privilege of being buried there. But if Varsha and Smith did not defect and continue their sworn lives, they would have probably most likely been buried in Crowmore. We never got to explore it. No real need to go there, but it is a location that could have been explored. How's the cat?
Sorry. Good.
It's all right.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. And I have a question to all of you. Do you have any questions? And do you have anything you want to bring up or talk about, you four?
I think I interrupted everybody.
Really weird problem with his scrotum, and I really think we should sort of wag. He's got this thing on his scrot, and I think as a group we should come together and really help him with it because.
Yes, as a group, everyone here should come together and help me with my scrotum.
Okay, all right.
Yep. That's what happens when you get to that age.
Yep.
As a group,
everybody's gonna have to hold it
on
the spot,
like a sugar baby, like a red panda, whatever those things are.
Like a beanbag.
Spanish galleon sail.
Spanish galleon sail. Yes.
We can use WAG to sail to the colonies.
I'll take that as a no.
The colonies.
I don't think I have any questions because I have all the answers I want, and anything else that was ambiguous, I like that way. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
a fan of a lot of the ambiguity that we had around some of the elements here, including one of the questions that I thought myself, I was like, I wonder what happened to Lorcan and Buttocks and fucking all of them. And you know what? I don't want to know.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I forgot the Buttocks existed.
Yeah, right.
So did
he was
Buttocks.
the NPC that Myth forgot, man.
Yeah. I do know, they have ideas where they went off and to do, but I mean, we've never needed to measure or say where they went.
After Lorcan's, he seems like one of those guys that, even though we were successful in his, resistance, the Entente resistance, I feel like he probably would find something else to just doggedly go at.
To be pissed
and
about.
probably just radicalize the rest of them to go off after this second thing that's been happening. I don't imagine he settled down. I mean, maybe Buttocks was in the background of some of those scenes that we had at the end, wandering around. I imagine Lane we spoke about that Lane is in those scenes, in the final scenes that were the 10 years later epilogue stuff. Lane is in the background like an old man, the regular at the bar, sat there, and maybe Bugs is the same.
Day drinking.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
Your Patreon campaign.
Yes.
What time period was that set in?
That was set in the same time.
Yeah, it was happening at the same time.
At the same time? Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did. Their story wrapped up just before the story wrapped up here. Nothing really crossed paths. They were up north a bit.
Because my question was going to be...
Yeah, was there any interaction?
Not if there was any interaction, but did anything we do kind of have ripples there and vice versa? Did anything they do change anything?
One of the players was called Luca, and he was a master chef on the run from Evervale. He was a bard. And
I'm sorry, wait, back up. Master chef on the run? Why?
he stole a
Cortana.
He stole a Cortana. He stole AI. He stole a device from a wizard that was a collapsible house. It was one of those collapsible house. He stole one of those and was on the run. So the players from our Patreon game, that was their home base, their mobile home base. You would just plop that down and they would go inside.
Awesome.
And they had a little butler named Winston. That's like this little construct butler who would do things for them, like go and sell their items and things like that. But yeah, he stole that and was on the run. Exactly. Yeah, he was a little retainer. And
Final Fantasy
they were
everywhere.
Exactly. And once again, Cord making Final Fantasy without knowing he's making Final Fantasy. And he was from Evervale. He was on the run from Evervale, and they had people out trying to get him back because of what he stole. A group of wizards from who he stole stuff went to go find him. He also, when they were in that that collapsible cabin, that hut, that home base of theirs, outside of the windows of that cabin would play memories and subconscious of Luca. And Luca, the bard, did grow up in he grew up in an orphanage in Evervale. And there was one scene where Smith showed up and took one of his bunkmates, and that was it. So he, and I don't think it was, I think it was Smith's probably old prior before Varsha, but the blacksmith showed up and took one of the kids, and that was that. So there was one, that was sort of one that sort of stayed through. Was really great is the guy who played Luca doesn't know the Spellwind story, so he was really like excited about that notion and that idea. As far as their interaction with yours, there wasn't anything that really would play. Unless you went a little bit north, you would probably see some stuff in the sky, but besides that, not really. A lot of them would probably come back to Hearth or Evervale, or they would, and then realize what has happened, and they're going to be in for a big surprise when and if that ever happens. But yeah, give me 1 second here. Do I have any? Where were we? What were we talking about? I got distracted.
What are we talking about?
What am I doing here?
What are we?
Is there anything? Whack, do you have any questions or anything at all for me or us?
Was Celeray always going to die, or did you make that decision?
Great question. She was
based on what was happening.
She was not always going to die.
Okay, so because I feel like we kind of answered that in the game, but I wasn't sure if you had always planned that
was going to happen. Yeah. The Twin Shields, the adventuring group that became the nobles of and like the founders of Blue Falls as it is today, Celeray being one of them, and Celeray being the one who did the technological magic and the magitech for the spell sales, did not. I don't think I was going to have her be taken out or killed. I think I wanted to have the grasp come in, the way of the grasp, the monks, and I thought that would have been a really cool way of, one, stirring the pot and bringing them in. Unfortunately, that fight was so silly and died to falling damage, but it was a great lesson to learn, and I think really, really cool for the party. And we spent a lot of time in Blue Falls, which I wasn't expecting, but it sort of was needed. I don't think we could have done the story without Blue Falls at all, because it lit a fire under Smith, and it also, and all that.
Side note on that, by the way. I saw a lot of people that were like, "Oh, Smith's about to go fucking crazy. He's about to rage out," and I think you missed the point on Smith if you were thinking that, because he was pretty emotionless, man. I mean, more than anything else, it was just like it was just PTSD. I mean, he just felt pain.
Yeah.
That's really what he felt all the time. And I think the first glimmers of happiness and stuff happened probably at Flaris. It was maybe he saw some hope or some potential with Selray, but he was still used to all the pain, so it didn't.
It was
affect
just another thing that just sort
Yeah.
of like, oh, I deserve this. Yep, this of course this would happen. This stoicism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And exactly what KJ says is figured that he'd regress. That's sort of what was happening. Smith was opening up, and then that happened, and Smith just sort of retreated again, and then was able to really start to. And that was sort of like, I feel like Smith testing the water socially to open up, to let those boundaries and those barriers down for a moment. Those barriers down for a moment, and then later opening up, like giving himself emotional context to when he goes to Flaris and opens up a bit more. All right, I don't know if we have anything else. Any other questions, chat? Oh, okay, and PB's away.
Anybody? Questions? Anybody? Anybody? Any questions?
Answers? Forever hold your Spellwind.
What were the twins named?
That's a great. What are the twins' names?
Taisha and Vanto.
Yep.
Okay, there's it. Taisha and Vanto. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Do you want to answer that, Brad, or no?
Oh, I didn't know there was an answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would decide now. Was what I meant. Like, do we want to just decide now?
I purposefully figured we didn't name them.
Yeah, okay. Then we will leave it ambiguous.
Luke and Leia.
Luke and Leia.
I mean, yeah, maybe one day Cord will need names for them, and I guess it's up to him to do that, you know. Maybe they show up.
And who?
Vanta. What did you say?
Perfect. Taisha and Vanto.
Orange
Taisha and Vanto.
Perfect. That's them. Write it down. But okay, I think that concludes the questions. You know what that means?
Woo!
It is
Time for the 6. Who
It's
wants
time
to
for the-
grab my scrot?
That's it. That's what that means.
Whack three beers in at his local bar every Sunday.
3 beers in. All right, it's time for the 6. All right. All right.
Mhm.
As per tradition. Brad.
Is being put to work. All right.
Is the roast of Spellwind.
Is this thing on? Okay. Let's see. Spellwind. The other Final Fantasy VII remake.
Sorry.
I
Oh,
guess.
shit.
There's an easy one.
Yeah, it was. It was good, though.
Whack roleplayed as a medieval Iron Man, which is weird because Whack is a man who was born in the Iron Age. PB played a spellcaster who could use void magic. We all wish he played a spellcaster who could avoid speaking. Oh, shit. Maya's here,
Hi.
the worst of 3 possible types of black pussy.
Oh my god! Jesus Christ!
I like how Meyer nodded, and then it hit him, and then it froze.
Oh.
God!
That wasn't even the one that I cut. Maya played Jet. We all wish he would. Man, don't worry. All right. I think we all agree that it was harsh when Cord chose to have Jet's hands removed, when we all wish it had been PB's tongue.
Oh, accurate. Myself
Whack wore a
included.
wig for this show. That's it. It's just hilarious. Ironic. Whack is so fucking old that the next Shill show is going to be an open casket.
You just have
Whack
to
is
drop
so
the money right into
fucking
it.
old that his next show should be called the Pearly Gate Walkers. Myth's here, looking like Daniel Day-Lewis with ALS.
Christ.
Myth thought he was a fucking genius when he came up with an idea for a show that involved magic Deus Ex Machina wind that can shift and transform the entire story on a whim. I felt really awkward casting him in my Star Wars show. Thinks he invented the Force. No, I'm actually really proud of Cord for putting years of work, months of effort, and focus into finishing a single thought. Myth took so much Adderall to concentrate for 3 hours every week that I lost my 13-year sobriety badge. The only thing more fucked than the tech issues on this show is Myth's Adderall-soaked liver.
Jesus.
In this show, we were introduced to a giant mahogany creature that everyone didn't trust in the beginning, but eventually came to love by the end. Maya. Wax started out as a villainous piece of shit. He's still a piece of shit, but at least now he's super dependable. Oh, wait. Sorry, I misread that. Now he wears Depends. There you go.
They're comfortable, all right?
If it wasn't for this show, I would never have met Maya. Which makes this show a bigger fucking disaster than Mistlight. Dead Grove, Bearden's Hollow, and the Spearway all sound like they were named in honor of PB's vagina. Large Vag. Myth should have given her the periept of wound closure, not Tom. PB played a damaged individual with a troubled childhood who is forced to work against her will, using her incredible magic for the single purpose of furthering an evil tyrannical leader. I have no idea how that feels. No idea what that's like at all. Spellwind was a long show, 177 hours, 66 episodes over almost 2 years. Spellwind went on for so long that I was scared Whack wasn't going to see it to the end.
These
Halfway
never
through the
get
show,
old, unlike Wax.
halfway through the show, Myth changed his name from Mythomatic to Cord, which is also what I needed about 30 episodes in. Maya used his natural Ghanaian accent, PB used her natural American accent, I used my natural London accent, and Whack used to have hair.
Long time ago.
Myth has tried to fuck so many other streamers that he's now officially a member of Twitch's advertising team.
Oh my god!
I don't even know if that's true, to be honest. I just thought it was lastly,
wow.
I'll say this. Whack is old and bald. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're zipping up your fly, by the way, when you put the microphone away.
And
I'm sure it's intentional.
The only time I get my dick out.
that's it. Only
The
time.
only
never
time it
nude.
works.
Oh man, that
That's
was
why I
awesome.
never became a stand-up comedian.
I wasn't allowed.
Thank you, Brad. That was so good. I was expecting about that. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me see how many I cut. 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Did you go in a doc somewhere of the cut ones?
cut ones
we'll never see the
stay
light of day.
behind a locked door forever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He's gonna say them on Oracle's
When we do
At the end
the
of
Oracle's
Rest, I
Rest,
do a roast every week.
the
of everyone.
roast on Oracle's Rest. All right, that everyone is the. That's it. That's the roundtable. That's Spellwind season 1, maybe season 2. We'll see. Which was really fun about the ending of Spellwind as it is there is a lot of cool things that we could maybe do for season 2, if there is one. But yeah, let's go around and have our last shout outs and call it an evening. And then maybe I'll show you a teaser that I've been working on from
What old Uncle Cord's got zipped away.
What old Uncle Cord's got zipped away. That's right. And if you're a streamer, that's right.
Shit.
All right, so let's
Literally
start with.
could have just changed that joke out for Orcish, by the way. Would have worked fine.
I mean, most of these can be.
Orcish is in the chat. Sup?
But yeah, Brad, you wanna start us off?
Yes. Hello, I'm Brad.
I
I
was also
played
going to
Typhoon
rebuttal
Veritas.
today with your
God.
roast, and then I didn't. So I'm glad I didn't write anything down. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'll
So-
come back to you in
The next
1d8 fucking days.
Yeah, I think that's true.
There's another. Yeah, no, I fucking love this campaign, man. I'll tell you one thing that I really liked about this chord, and I'm going to be sincere for a second. You have a cool DM style, and one thing that up until I played in this campaign, I think I was being really precious with like really I think I was just being precious with everything, like how it came across, how the show was being perceived, how I was running the show, what I was doing when I was GMing, and you know, music and everything, and making sure that everything was just like so perfect. And there'd be points in this where
That went out the window when tech happened for me. Whatever.
Well, there would be times where you'd be in the middle of a relatively important scene, nothing like insanely important, but you know, just a relatively important scene, and then you would just casually drop in a joke and laugh and then roll on, and somehow it didn't break immersion and lose momentum. And I was like, what? You can do that? That's a thing? And like, because I've always been like I'm always making jokes and being silly, right? That's what I'm doing. But when I'm GMing, I was always so serious, and there's something about the way that you're able to like do that helped me to let go of my like vice grip DM style. And I started doing it in Oracle's Rest. I was just like being silly and having fun with it. And you know, we've been playing Star Wars, which is I've been like really try-harding with it, and there've just been a lot of moments where we just drop it and we just joke and then we carry on, and it's so somehow you're able to do that and still go with the flow, which is really cool. I don't know, man. It's a thing that I think I learned from you in this, which I really appreciate. And it's just so specific. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like such a weird thing to thank you for after this, you know, like this show has been like a year and a half long. And there's so many good things about it that everyone witnessed, and so many like obvious things that I could cherry pick that I've really enjoyed personally about being here with you guys. You know, like I met Maya. He's become one of my best friends. We hang out all the fucking time and stuff like that. Which is more than, you know, this could have been the worst show of all time, you know what I mean? But it would elevate it immediately. But there's something about the way that you GM that I just really enjoyed. And I think, for me personally, it's just such a specific little thing, but I think it's changed me forever how I GM. So I want to thank you for that. And also the show was just great. I really loved it. I really loved all of our characters. I love the story that we told. together. I think the cast, I mean, it was one of the original things that Cord wanted to do was have me, PB, and Whack be able to play in the same game. It was like a gift to us because we were always running one show and we can only ever have one of us on as a player or whatever half the time, and because we're just the central
as far as tech, I wanted to
GMs.
run it, yeah.
And so that was his first gift to us, and the second was Maya, and then the third for me was just, I think you enhanced my ability to GM, and I really enjoyed the show, and I'm gonna miss hanging out every Wednesday with you guys, and playing it. But I really think it was a fucking solid D&D experience, man. Like fucking just nailed it, and you should be really proud. And I'm really happy we told this story together. That's about all I have to say about me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, wow. A lot of I was telling Brad this too, a lot of the gamifying elements of traps and things, including like the Sudoku way of getting into, or Dazku, I think Meyer called it, or Jet called it in game, the Sudoku way of getting into Flaris Academy, as well as Whack figuring it out and everything was, that was from you, Brad. So I mean, like gamifying mechanics and gamifying D&D in ways that are not a simple skill check or combat. So like those mini games and things that come up. If you were there this past Saturday chat, Brad dropped an entire board game on us for a adventure, and it was awesome. So just like so a lot of that stuff, the Flaris encounter was from you. So thank you, and like each of you have given me a bunch of things, and you got to see and experience a lot of that stuff. So thank you for all of you for bringing all those cool little. You hear my dog grunting in my lap right now, but yeah, that's
you keep dressing like that, I'll be grunting in your lap.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It depends. What are your numbers? What are your streaming numbers? But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, Meyer.
Hi. My name is Meyer, and I play Jet. And yeah, this is the final Spellwind season 1, or whatever you wanted to call it. The final Spellwind episode. It's been a very interesting one for me because, I mean, I've had a little bit of a, like a tabletop RPG experience before, before meeting you guys. I did some things, and that's in fact how I met Cord. Like we were playing The Expanse tabletop RPG, and we kind of hit it off with our characters, and we just found, hey, this guy's, we just kept finding ways to kind of like make our characters like bounce off each other, and like it just became this natural thing. And I think I made an instant friend without really realizing that I had. It was very strange. And when that was over, I kind of felt mildly lost, because like I on stream and stuff, all I kind of had been doing in the past was one thing, just streaming Star Citizen. So when Cord hit me up and said, hey, do you want to be on this TTRPG? I'm doing a D&D thing. You want to do it? I was like, hell yeah, sure. And I had no idea that would literally be changing my life. The amount of like story beats that have happened in my life, not just through like the stream or whatever, but just in my life, that I can like owe to this and this table, like are so many. I've made friends and family through like through Spellwind, it's been an experience. Without Cord, I would never have met PB. I would never have met Whack. I would never have met Brad. I would never have met Brad. And
that one guy,
right? And the feeling is mutual. Brad is like one of my best friends, and I owe so much to Spellwind, and I owe so much to Cord. I remember like feeling like my life had changed like a couple months into Spellwind. I just kept having the urge to like reach out to Cord and say, hey dude, thank you. And he like, what for? I'm like, this, that, the other. Just like, I couldn't put my finger on it. And, obviously the end of Spellwind isn't the end of everything and the end of like this, right? But it very much is. Okay, fine. I mean, checks in the mail. Fuck you too. But like, but yeah, for real, it is, for certain the beginning of it. And I owe you guys so much, without, I'm just going to keep repeating myself, honestly. Without Spellwind, I wouldn't have, discovered Wild RP, and that was through PB, and I wouldn't have tried to further my voiceover career. I wouldn't have tried to do all this stuff. I probably wouldn't have, worked at TwitchCon last year. I probably wouldn't have been signed for voiceover this year. I owe my life to Table Story and these 4 guys. So thank you.
I mean, you also did all that yourself, so
yeah,
you did. Yeah, you did do that.
Discredit yourself too much, but also I will be taking 5% of everything you earn for the rest of your life. So.
That would be very helpful. Yeah. Thank you, Meyer, for bringing Jet, and thank you for saying yes to this. It really has been life-changing, and you being a part of this has been so awesome.
I never said yes.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. I made you.
I said, of course.
Oh, that's what it was. It's silly. But yeah,
small
it was,
but important distinction.
It was so. That's true. It was just so. Everything you did. Like I said it earlier today too. You were the first person to speak during the show. Like you were the first line said in Spellwind was you, and that is very courageous and brave to do, especially on a show that you're like the first time. So it was just really cool to see, and you took that that bravery and that risk taking throughout, including your descriptions and bringing Jet as Jet was, and it was a really great placement of Jet being that timid person who has been and ancestrally screwed by this crusade, right? You grew up as Jet grew up as this person who feared, and then even the last episode during the epilogue, I was like, wow, Jet's really changed. Why is that? And it was just it's obvious all the amazing, beautiful choices you have made, including the ending and the epilogue, to why that exists. So just thank you for having such a consistent character, and thank you for also being in my life and saying yes and being around to play games and to Star Citizen and to just be awesome. Just thank you for being my friend as well. That's it. I'm not gonna say anything else. That's cool. Whack.
I am very grateful that we had the opportunity to do this and get to role play together. Getting to play this character felt kind of cathartic in this weird way. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was like it was kind of a redemption story, and getting to do that through a character with some of my favorite people is just a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for that. Getting to sort of trust fall with PB, especially in the beginning, was really powerful, and it had a really big impact, I think, on the way that I will role play from now on. In that, I think that I think I'm going to do that a lot more. I'm going to do the trust fall kind of thing where I have a lot less sort of planned and just try and read someone that I know really well and develop a scene with a few looks,
Yeah.
Because that's something on a scale I don't think I've ever done before. way that we did that.
Yeah.
And having to make really important decisions for what was going to affect the rest of the campaign in moments was really tough. Really, really tough. I was like, my choice here is going to change the entirety of the campaign.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of pressure on that, but I was like, just go with the flow. That's kind of what I was repeating in my head. And I, I hope I can do that more in the future, but I'm glad that we did that together because, I don't know if I could have done that with anybody else as impactful as a moment as that was. So thank you. And thank you for all of the work that you put together every week, Myth. And these wonderful settings were very vibrant, and they all had their own story, and they really felt like solid places to go.
Thank you. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thank you. Yeah, some weeks I couldn't do it. It was a lot of work, and some weeks I was like, I can't this week. And thank you for supporting that. There were some weeks I just had to cancel because I was just probably so much pressure on myself to do it. And every week I'm like feeling this imposter syndrome of, oh shit, I'm gonna let Table Story down. Oh crap. But every time you've been, each one of you have been so supportive in the shut up court, everything's fine. And so thank you for just being such great people and great friends. Yeah, it's been amazing. And thank you, Wack. It's been such a pleasure having you on and to see the intensity of Smith and the intensity of your talent as a role player. And yeah, in just a few looks, there was a couple of times where you'd stare at the camera or you'd stare at me, and I felt like I was deconstructing because I was like, oh shit, I don't know how to respond, because it was just so, you are such an amazing presence when you are backing like a character that needs it. Like you have such a wonderful, versatile charm to you that you can embody these characters. And if you're intimidating, you are 110% intimidating. If you are charming, you are 110% charming. And it's amazing watching you emote. So thank you so much, Wack, for bringing that. Even in a character who doesn't emote often, you were still, it was still so easy for all of us to read. I felt, for me at least, to read what's going on inside the struggle that was Smith's mind. So it was just really cool to watch, and thank you for it. Yeah. BB?
Hello. Hi.
Sorry, who are you?
I'm Pumpkinberry, and I played Varsha for you for this last almost a year. Wow.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
Oh, sorry, year and a half.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We started September.
Wow.
2021.
What? Holy
2021.
shit.
September 2020.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, Cord. Well, first of all, everybody at the table that I got to play alongside, holy shit. Everybody bringing their A game every single fucking week. That was awesome. I love all of these characters, and I was very attached to them. And I think, and I said this last week or when the finale happened, that it's one, I don't often really yearn for a happy ending. I'm okay if things are, not perfect. But for this one, it was the same with Darkfire as well, where I was just really kind of hoping that it would be a happy ending for everybody. And it was. And it was like a really feel-good ending. And I feel like we don't always get those. And so I was really pleased with that. Yeah, really, really pleased with that. And then Cord, holy shit. So I know you said that Brad inspired you for some of the puzzles, but the way you did some unique combat, that fight along the beach, that was fucking awesome. The fight in the air where you added, there was just, each encounter was different. You had a lot of encounters that were, I felt like we could come to the table going, okay, I know what I'm going to do. And then you'd have other encounters where it's like, holy shit, I really have to think outside the box because you're adding in a new element, or you're making this combat unique in a way that I'd never seen done before. So that was fucking awesome. And also I just loved the world. And I loved everything that you did for all of us. Not only did you yes and everybody, but you made sure that everybody, you know, kind of was elevated in a way with either their backstory or, you know, you made sure to kind of like shine a light on that without doing a backstory dump. You know, you just made sure to support that so we could explore that as much or as little as we wanted to as players, which was super fucking cool. And I loved every second of it, and I'm going to miss it. And I got to stop talking now. I'm going to cry. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, PB. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, friends. This has been so super awesome. And yeah, it's been it's been I know another one. It's been a wonderful couple of years, and Wednesdays aren't going to be the same. I've been so like, Wednesday are my Spellwind days. Wednesday are my Spellwind day. I've got to think about what I'm going to do. And I've been because of my ADD. I've been now like, oh, I'll just do prep on Wednesday. And like, I will just save it all up because I do better on a deadline. So I'll just save it up and I'll do it all on Wednesday. So my Wednesdays have just been Spellwind for the past year and a half. So it's going to be nuts to, like even today, I was still working on Spellwind to get today done. Next week is going to be weird. I was worried that I was going to sort of be really sad when the game is over. And when this is over, I don't think I'm going to be. One, because there was a really wonderful ending that I think made sense, that we all sort of said yes and to make happen, and that was super awesome. And one, the happy ending, I don't think I could have had it be a darker ending because it was already a grim, strangling world as it was. So I kind of definitely wanted to have that little bit of I didn't want to like leave a fuck you to the story as it's departing. I did want to have it a little bit of an uplifting mood. So I'm glad it did turn out to be that way. But if we weren't so close, each one of us, this would be a much more somber and like goodbye, right? This is just sort of like, the show's ending, that's it. As far
I'll see you later for games, and I'll see you on Saturday for work.
Exactly. Yeah, like we want to play Final Fantasy later. Yeah, okay. And yeah, exactly. And see you on Saturday. Like we haven't. It's the game. The game ending, this season ending, because I keep saying season because I have ideas for a season 2. Whether or not it happens is completely up to the world and the universe and everything, and if it can happen. But this is sort of just like, this was a great little button, and I'm glad it happened. But let's go and play more games, you know, like this would be much more of a dramatic ending to whatever. We're not ending an era. We're not ending anything. This was the start of a beautiful, wonderful friendship and relationship with all of you. And it just so happens to this story, this arc, this little chapter of our friendship and relationship and this channel is just wrapping up for now. So Wednesdays are going to be weird, but besides that, like, I'm happy and so thankful and grateful. And I do this every week too. When my medications hit me, when my Adderall jokes, when my Adderall hits me and my antidepressants hit me, when I start working, I get so grateful for my friends for like 20 minutes or so. I'm just like, you know,
then
my friends are awesome.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what, no more, no less.
And then I'm working, and then, but it's like for a little bit, there's this window of just like, you've got some really amazing friends. And every time that happens, and every week, and every time I start working, and that sort of that bubbles up for a moment, I then just start to get distracted and think about how awesome my life is with all of you in it. And just, I say it every week, like in the text, but like now having you here, thank you so much for everything. The DMs, the jokes, the DMing, the GMing, the table story. Thanks for letting me, taking a risk and letting me produce something for you all, and taking a risk with VMix, and taking a risk with me playing and DMing all of you, and just thank you for this wonderful trust fall, and thank you for being my friends. This has been really great. And what I loved about this is not really what I loved about this, but what I'm thinking about right now is I didn't really look at chat throughout the game. Like through playing, this is the most I've looked at chat throughout the entire run because one, I'm sort of doing this meta hosting thing, but I didn't look at chat because I didn't need to. I'm not like, no offense, chat, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for us. This has been really great, and it's just you. And this is another reason why I like to joke and have that giggles and laughs and stuff, Brad, is because I did want to have this personal fun that we have. And like, we're going to play this game. It's going to be great. And you can just watch, chat if you want. And, it's been really awesome. And, I feel like there hasn't been a point that, in this story and in the relationship that we all have, including the characters, where it didn't seem genuine. And, and that's really, really hard to find, in this space, is to find, those people and, a crew that, of even just cast members who can be genuine in themselves and their characters. And it was amazing. So thank you everybody for being who you are and letting me involved and all that goodness. But I think one last time we could all do whatever pose you want and freeze the cams. All right, and you're just gonna do that, and that's it. This is sad. Okay, and we're all doing the jet wave. Okay, all right, perfect. I love you all, and Wax still here.
I can't find the exit button. There it is.
There it is. Perfect.
Help the old man out.
There it is. How do I get on there? How do I log? Oh, it logged me.
Got
out.
a drawing tablet in front of me. I can't see anything.
Okay. But thank you, everybody. And before we go, everybody, just because this story in Spellwind is ending, doesn't mean that Spellwind, the world, is ending. I mentioned that before before the epilogue. And you may want to unmute the tab for this, people in the vMix, if you wanted to watch this or watch it on the channel. But I do have a trailer for what will be happening 10 years after the events of Spellwind. Yeah, this is that. Enjoy, and happy Wednesday, and we'll see you on tomorrow, right? Tomorrow for the area door. Ashes of area door. I was like burning the burning of the place. All right, my brain's not working. All right, bye.
Who's the old one now?
It's still you.
us.
It's still you.
Welcome, my friends. I trust you're all well. Good. Now let's get down to business. Duncart has got a job for you. A heist of sorts. But Runefather promises you the reward is worth the risk. You see, there's a shipment from the Evervein that our associates and us have been after for some time now. But we've hit a bit of a snag. The problem is, the crystals are being held in a mutually secured location, and we just can't seem to get our hands on them. That's where you come in. You're the best in town, and we need you to sneak in there and retrieve the crystals for us. Of course, there will be hefty payment waiting for you upon completion. But we also must warn you, this is no easy task. The city is in chaos now that there is no God King to keep things in order, and the guilds are now in charge. You'll need to be careful. Watch your backs at all times. So, What do you say? Are you in?